Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the replay. I am here. My name is Sarah Ortiz, and Jenna.
I'm Jenna.
Hello.
Jenna,
hi. And Jenna and I are co-host of Heartly Broken Radio. We help we help women going through divorce focus on themselves. So after divorce, they are more able to thrive and improve their lives and also find a better relationship than the one they left. So we are here today talking with Tanida Mullen about, I have to look at the title because I forgot for a second. Flip that career from one you like to one you love. I think this is a really important topic to talk about, especially when we're talking about single moms. I know when I separated from my husband, I went through a time where I didn't know what I was going to do. I know a lot of women who are going through a divorce and are separated either have never had a job or they're in a job and most people don't like their jobs. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really, really important topic to talk about, especially for single moms and moms and women going through divorce. So Tanida, tell us about yourself. Tell us about how you got started and what it is that you do.
Okay, well, you already said who I am. My name is Tanida Mullen, and I have a podcast called The Savvy Young Professional. And that show is basically a show where we help young professionals kind of take it to the next level. And I have people on the show that have expertise in different areas. And we really just talk about those things that you need to kind of just level up in your career or your business. And, you know, it's really funny when I titled the show The Savvy Young Professional, I didn't think about getting older. And so it's really funny. But, you know, a lot of people enjoy that show. And what The Savvy Young Professional is basically is just, you know, me helping people to kind of just, you know, think different, try something new or try something that maybe that you haven't thought of in regards to kind of taking your career from point A to point B. And it might not be necessarily, you know, levels up, like a lot of levels up, but it's just something different to where you really want to be and kind of more focused to the area that is heart-centered. And so I work with people who are ready to do that. And it comes in a variety of different ways. There's, you know, people who are, you know, starting from ground zero, you know, they really need help in a lot of ways. And then there's just some people who just kind of need a different perspective, you know, someone to kind of talk to and to think different. So it's awesome. I love it. And I'm really happy to be here because this is a fun topic.
Yay.
Yeah.
We're helping women in need. So
absolutely.
So you said heart-centered. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny when we go out and to find work, a lot of the times it's very rare that we do things that are heart-centered. And I think it's because in the beginning, you know, when you're in high school or you're those years, you want to be all the things that you just are way out there in some people's minds. I remember me personally, I'll use my own story. I just knew that I wanted to be a dentist. Like I loved going to the dentist office. I was like, I want to be a dentist. This is what I want to do. And so as I got a little bit older, I realized that, wow, I don't know if I want to go to school for 10 years. Like I started to listen to the things around me like, well, you know, school's expensive and you're going to be there for at least 8 to 10 years. And I'm like, oh, that's a long time. And so that quickly went from like dentist to dental hygienist. And, you know, so I think we start to listen to the world to, you know, kind of guide us to where to go. And so our work turns more into a money game than doing something that is really connected to what gets us excited. And so heart-centered is just what it is. You know, what is connecting your heart? What's making you kind of like get up in the morning and not just literally roll on the floor out of bed? Like you get up, you're excited, you have your coffee. I mean, nobody backflips out of the bed to work. I don't care who you are. I need you to send me an application to where you work. But, just not dragging and not feeling like this is the burden of my life for the next 20 years. And so, that's just a word that I use, but it's really just doing something that you can get up every day and say, you know what, I enjoy this. I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Whenever you said heart-centered, that really grabbed my attention, because that's what I've been thinking about lately. Because I have a little cleaning business that I do for myself, but I'm just doing it to make money. But what my heart really wants is to help people, and not just help their houses be clean, but help them, have a better life and be healthier and be happier. And I think I know the route I want to go, and this is really exciting me, like hearing you talk about this, and it's kind of like confirmation for me, and I hope it is for other people too, to take those steps. So what do you think, like, what are some good baby steps? You talk about thinking and focusing on what gets you excited and what gets you out of bed, but what would be like the next step, would you say, in getting there?
I always tell people, and I do this myself, and I've done this several times, you really have to do what I like to call a career audit. You have to do this. You have to do this whether you're trying to switch careers or, move up or whatever it is you're trying to do. But you also have to do this when you're happy and excited, and you're fresh, and maybe you're the first 2 years in your career, because you need to check with yourself to make sure that's what you want to do and that you're heading in the right direction. So the first thing that I tell people to do is you got to get a clear view approach. Like, you have to take a clear view approach. And what that means is ask yourself really simple questions. Like, number one, what do I like? What do I actually like to do? You mentioned you want to help people, Mm-hmm. And it's funny because that's awesome. But there are people out there that say, you know what? I like working by myself, and I like working on a particular project as a piece to a bigger project.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you're obviously in tune to what it is that you want to do, but what do I actually like to do? And that could be anything. And I say, when you're doing this, write it down and just go and just make a list and just write. I like working with people. I like working days. I like possibly working, 30 hours a week instead of 40, or I want 2 days on, 3 days off. You can be as specific or as broad as you want to, but just kind of get it off of your chest is what I like to say. And once you do that, you can ask yourself, well, what do I hate? What do I hate doing? So we can all go. That list will probably double once you get to that part. And you got to be realistic, because I know me. I love to help. I'm like you. I love to help. But I realized when I started really taking this audit my own self that I'm not a task person. I am more of a social leader. I like to get the groups together. I like to think the big picture ideas. Don't put me on like a smaller task, because it's just like, oh man, I don't want to do this, and I keep putting it off. So that's probably one of the things that I would say I hate doing. Now, if you ask me to lead the class or come up with a game plan, of how we're going to run the meeting or something like that, I would love to do it. And so I would, what do you hate doing? What is just something you don't like? Don't give that to me at all. And you have to be honest with yourself, because I noticed that, people who like to help people, there's almost nothing that they hate, but there really is. And the things that you hate are the things that you do the very last minute. You do them last minute because you hate them. So, and then last of that first kind of beginning part is what bothers me just a little bit. Like, not necessarily I hate it, but I could kind of do without it. It doesn't really inconvenience me that much, but it just a little bit, it kind of gets on my nerve. And there's a big difference in those two things, because what you hate is just something that no matter what, you just can't deal with it. And something that bothers you a little bit, those are the things that maybe won't be deal breakers when you're looking for your next career, because you're not going to get a perfect checklist. So you have to have those things that you're going to compromise on. So those would be the I hate it a little bit kind of things from your list. So that's kind of how I would start. I notice people have a hard time doing this sometimes. And I always suggest, if you can't get through this list or you're stuck, call your friend. Call the friend that you always complain to. Because we all have that friend who got to work at 5 o'clock, and like at 5:05, we're dialing their number and we're like, oh my gosh, like, let me tell you about this day at work. I hated this. So if you can't think of anything on your own, just kind of call somebody that you always vent to and ask them a simple question. When I call you and I'm venting to you about work, what do you hear me say?
Yeah.
And just listen. And that'll help you.
That's great. I could see you doing, somebody doing that in the opposite way too. If you're having a hard time figuring out, what you would be good at or what, the direction to go in, ask the people around you, what am I good at, or what strengths do you see in me? Because I've noticed, I went to this little get together, and at first everybody was going around saying things about themselves, and it was kind of hard. But then once it got to me, I said, I don't want to talk about myself. And so all my friends started saying, well, you're this and you're that. And it was all really positive and good. And I was like, you know what, this is what we need to be doing, because this is building everybody up, and it's stuff that I wouldn't even think of that they were talking about me. So yeah, I think that could go the opposite way just as well. So
it's the hardest thing. It is hard to talk about yourself. Yeah. You're right. It goes the opposite way. And it's funny how people see you, like you think, I would say I personally don't feel like I'm the best with like smaller tasks, just because I will make the list of the tasks and then I'll put the list to the side and do something different. So, but maybe working with a team member who has experience working with me, they might see that different than me. So it's great to get another view, another perspective of how you look to someone else. And yes, you could totally flip that question, especially, and this is not what we're talking about tonight, but if you're looking at like building a resume or changing up something about your resume, that is a really good exercise to do.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great. And I've been taking notes as you were talking.
I know you're so
quiet. So hearing you talk about this, and at one point you were listing. You were talking about listing what you like, what you don't like, and different characteristics and aspects of the job that you want, or the career that you want, or the things that you like to do. And it kind of reminds me what I just did with my next relationship, what I want my next relationship to be like.
Wow, absolutely.
I did have some things like specifically about the guy, like characteristics about the guy, but I've tried to focus more about the relationship itself. Mm-hmm. And when you think of, sorry, my brain is kind of going off two different tangents, but when you think of your career in terms of a relationship, I think that it will help you a lot more than thinking of it as just, a place you go, because you have to have a good relationship with your job. You have to have a good relationship with your career. You have to have a good relationship with the things that you're doing. And when you're doing something that you don't like to do, you kind of lose a good relationship with yourself. I know that when I tried to be an employee, when I've tried several times because I feel like I felt that it was the thing I should do. And I think that's another reason why people might have such a hard time with the list that you just went through, because like you said, we're going to have time for questions later. So I had to kick you out now, but please, if you have a question, wait until the end. But in terms of separation and divorce, because that's, who we're focusing on, women who are going through divorce or single moms, that time is the time that it is so insanely important to be honest with yourself, honest with the person that you're divorcing from or separated from, honest with your kids about what's going on. It's just, this time is just rife with opportunities for being honest. And so this is a really good exercise for honesty in another part of your life that you can practice. So
absolutely. I agree with that, Sarah. And one of the things that kind of stuck out to me about what you just said is you talked about, you having a good relationship with your job. In terms of a career, if you're really looking to make a shift and a change, I would challenge you to also change the way you speak about things. So your job would kind of be something like, the boyfriend that you're seeing, and that career, right? It's like, this could go either way. I could leave this and like find one, you know what I mean? You're not committed to the job. What I want you to think about too is that career that's the marriage, that's the long haul. So, sometimes you have to make sure that while you're in the job phase, that you're thinking about that long term, because you wouldn't date anybody at a long time that you wouldn't consider marrying or maybe staying in a long term committed relationship with. So you have to take that same approach in your career. You hit it right there when you talked about that, because and my mom used to always tell me this. She said a job is a job. It could be something here today, gone tomorrow. And it is just like a relationship. Your career is something that you want to think about long term, and that was really the perfect analogy. And you pretty much hit it when you said that.
Thank you. So you are a coach. Is that right?
I do help people, yes. My main thing is, mostly live events and doing my podcast and stuff. But yes, I have coached a few people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So with a new client, what's your first session like? What do you talk about?
Well, it's really interesting because I am so interested in work relations and how people see themselves, how they act, and how they view their jobs. It's something that I've always been interested in. And it's really weird because I mean, even with my friends now, I will call a friend that I haven't talked to in months, and the first 45 minutes will be about the job. And I'm so interested in that. I want to know. So I kind of talk to people about what's going on with them right now at this very moment, because you can't move past anything else unless you really get a grip on where you are now and kind of how you got there. So it's really more a discovery, kind of talking about where you are, why are you still there? Because if you're coming to me, you're talking to me, a lot of the times you're kind of at the end of something. You're over it and you don't know how to do it yourself. And so you kind of get that other person in like, can you help me look at this different? But it's really important that we try to figure out how you got there in the first place so that you're not doing those same things. And that's kind of what I'm there to do. I'm there to kind of help you see things from a different view. So it's a lot of talking about what does your day-to-day look like? Like we just talked about in the list. What do you hate? What can you deal with? And you'd be surprised what it is that people actually don't like about their jobs. A lot of the times it's not the job, but we don't have to go right now.
I was just going to ask you, is there a common theme as to, how do you work with men and women, right? You have, I don't know if you've noticed on the side, Ross, he is a big fan of yours.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Yes.
So you obviously work with men too, but is there a common theme as to why people get to that space in their career or their job? They just hate it and they hate going. And
well, the common theme really has to do more with people. Jobs are very people-centric. I mean, it's just you're around people for maybe 40 hours, sometimes more, depending on the demands of what you do. And it's just like anything around you. People have habits. Have you ever been to, an event or something, and you're sitting there next to someone and they're chewing gum really loud, or they're tapping their finger? They're being themselves. They're not trying to annoy you or make you angry, but for some reason, you're just like, shut up, So imagine dealing with that person every day. We all have habits. We're creatures of habits. And so having all those habits come together for 40 plus hours a week, that's really the issue. It's really people. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is the working with people as far as infusing culture into their workplace. Because honestly, most of the problems, Sarah, they have to do with people. It's really not the task or the actual job. It is the people. So,
yeah, I've noticed that.
I know that I mentioned earlier that I've tried to be an employee several times and it just has not worked out. And when I separated from my husband about a year, sorry, can you guys hear that? My dad's getting ice. When I separated from my husband about a year and a couple months ago, I was getting really worried about how I was going to make money. And so I, decided, to take what I think is the easy way. I know it's not the easy way for a lot of people, but what I feel is the easy way is to get a job and have somebody else pay me and be able to, have the security of going in, however many hours it is and have the security of that paycheck. And I tried really, really hard to be an employee. I really did. And for me, it really wasn't the habits. I didn't really care. What mattered most to me is that my boss did not let me do the job that I was hired for. Mm-hmm. That really gets to me. Mm-hmm. When you've hired me because you obviously think I have a talent in something, and I'm sitting here trying to do my job that you hired me for and you're paying me for, and then you don't let me do my job and try to undermine me and micromanage me, that really, really gets on my nerves. Mm-hmm. And but I am thankful that I actually did take that job because it made me finally realize that I am not employee material. Right. It's so difficult for me to be an employee, just like it would be for an employee type person to try to run their own business. I mean, it works. It's the same thing. When you're trying to be somebody you're not, that's when the struggle comes in. And I think that's something I read a quote recently about that. Something like stress is when you're trying to fight against who you are, and bliss, or whatever the word they use, satisfaction, whatever it is when you finally accepted who you are and you're going out there in the world. And I know for me, coming from someone who separated from her husband and who had a really difficult marriage toward the end, I really lost myself in that marriage. And so I think doing something like this and reevaluating your career and reevaluating what you do and your talents and your skills is a really, really important thing. It was for me when I separated, and I know it would be helpful to other women going through divorce too.
Right, exactly. You do need to do a little bit of reevaluation. And even if you're not looking to change where you are, maybe you actually like what you do. Maybe you wake up every morning and you have your coffee and you're like, I cannot wait to get to work. I'm not sure it plays out just like that, but you know what I mean. You might actually love where you're at that point. But you still need to keep yourself educated in your career, in your field. So continue to train, continue to go to, get your certifications, read up on what you're doing in your industry. If that's what you like, I always tell people, don't get complacent. Just don't get stuck in this area of I'm good, because that could always change. And you're also, there's also new talent right behind you. So I don't want people to get scared about where they're at, but I definitely want to promote professional development and making sure that you're keeping up to pace, because I could imagine with you in your business, you still read, certain magazines and publications. You still, pay for certain training. Maybe you even work with a coach in your business. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure there's ways for you to keep yourself updated and do that so you have choices as well. The better you are educated in your field and knowledgeable in your field, then, you do have that choice to when you do wake up that day and you're like, you know what, I hate this. I truly do. I cannot stand Bob and him putting his feet on the desk every morning. I'm done. So when you get there, and I'm being light, there's some way more serious issues going on in the workplace. But when you get to that point, then you can say, you know what, I've been working on, keeping up with the industry trends this past year. I really think I can try another leg of this business, another part of my industry, and go into something new. Just keep yourself updated is one thing I would say, if you're looking to not feel stuck. Because I couldn't imagine, being like you were talking about in a relationship and then that ending, and then feeling stuck in your career, because then you can't move on. So you moved on in one way, and then you didn't nurture that career that you had going, and now you're stuck in that. And so I can imagine some of the feelings being the same. And so to make sure that that's not an option, or you don't feel stuck, just make sure you keep yourself up to date, just in whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a theory that I heard from some productivity, habit breaking business type people. And it's something along the lines of how, I'm probably not going to get this right. Your habits in one area of your life are the same in other areas of your life, or what you do in one part of your life, you're probably doing in other parts of your life too. Mm-hmm. So if you are, I can't think of anything right now. If you procrastinate in your job, then you probably procrastinate in your relationships. You probably procrastinate with doing household chores. You probably procrastinate in every area of your life, not just that one. And so then the flip of that is if you only focus, you only have to focus on one part of your life to break that habit, or to create a new habit, and that will bleed into other areas of your life. And I just thought, that is that's crazy, to think about. But I haven't tested it, but it sounds plausible.
Absolutely. I believe that's definitely true. And you have to do a little bit of elimination. And I can speak to this myself, because I'm the type of person, I like to be involved. If I'm going to be in an organization, association, whatever it is that I'm doing, I am going to be involved, because if I'm not, I feel like I'm wasting my time. And so I had to come to a realization in the things that I was doing, and say, okay, what is it that I need to eliminate, right? Because obviously I was everywhere, and something was not getting done. And so what I noticed is that's not just a thing that happens in my work life. That also was something that was happening in my personal life, because personally, I say, oh yeah, I can go to this party or this event, or yeah, I can help you at your garage sale, or, anything it is that you want. So, because I like to help and I like to be out, and if I'm going to be there for my friends, I'm going to be there for them 100%. So you're right. It mirrored my personal and my professional life, but I also had to get to the point of elimination, where I did that audit. And I said, okay, if it's not matching what it is I want to do to get to the next level, then I'm gonna eliminate that. I'm gonna let that go. And I'm gonna tell you, that is really powerful. When you're trying to see what your next move is gonna be, you are gonna do a lot of eliminating. And that could be events, tasks. It could be people, relationships that you need to end. But in order for you to really move forward and change something, you're gonna have to eliminate some things. And I don't mean temporarily. I mean it's a lifestyle change. Anything that you want to change. So I would add that after you do your evaluation phase, head over to that elimination phase and just start pushing things aside.
Yeah, and I'm going to connect this back to separation and divorce again, because when I have a rule right now in my life, we are hopefully at the end of our divorce, and it's getting to that. Well, it's been stressful, and the problem with, at least in my situation, the problem with separation and divorce in my situation is that it's rarely something. Yeah, you still get in fights with your ex, or you have blow-ups, or you fight about visitation, you fight about this and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's this steady underlying stress that is relentless. It doesn't end. Your stress level is just always here. Mm-hmm. And I mean, because that's the nature of going through separation or divorce. And so my biggest thing is, since I have, and I know that I have that steady stress, even though sometimes I can't really tell because it's so steady. It's like that analogy of putting the frog in water and then slowly turning up the heat, and it just sits there because it doesn't know that it's getting hot. For a while, I didn't know how much stress I was under. I did not realize how much stress I was under from this separation and divorce. And I handle stress pretty well anyway, but this is a different kind of stress. So my big thing is I'm not taking on any more stress. And when you're going through something like separation and divorce, you really start to get very detailed and very picky about the people you let in your life, and the things that you let waste your time, and the things that you spend your time on. And you really, that's why I feel like divorce and separation is such a great opportunity for women, especially women, men too, but especially women, to improve their lives, to do things like we're talking about to improve their life. It's just, I can't stress that enough. I mean, my separation and my pending divorce has been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Wow.
It's made me take a step forward. It's made me evaluate things that I became complacent in. And yeah.
I really like your outlook on that, because it takes a strong person to even recognize the opportunity and change. And I really like how you kind of turned that around and said, look, this is changing in my life, but this is definitely an opportunity for me to use this place that I'm at and my mindset and see what I can do in different areas. And I gotta say, that's definitely inspiring from my end as well, because for me, I always like to connect things, and it's just like, would you clean your whole room and not clean your closet, or not clean, your bathroom? Why not take that energy that you have right now, that cleaning phase that you're in, and move that over to your career, or move that over to your family, or people that you need to eliminate, or, things that you find yourself doing every day that are stressors for you, especially your career. Because the thing is, your family's going to be there. Your kids, your ex-husband, especially if you have kids with that person, they're going to still be there for the amount of time that you have, children, which is forever. Your career is one of those things that you don't have to deal with that. So if you're tough on that, if you're saying, hey, look, I don't need this person in my life, they're stressing me out, I'm going through a divorce, or I'm moving on, you need to be that tough and that particular in your career, especially, because there's nothing that a job can do for you that your family is going to be able to do. That's a relationship that everybody knows, most people, if they choose one or the other, they're probably going to choose their family, And so if you are having those issues in your job, and we're talking about hate, and you've done that work in your personal life, do not let that job take away all that good work that you've done. Just don't. That's a waste, and it's not even worth it. Because I can tell you, I'm pretty sure there's nobody that you work with, if you're watching this show, that you work with or work for, that is worth the amount of stress that you're going through in a separation. It's not. It's not.
That's exactly why I left. Because like Sarah, I did the same thing. I had my cleaning business last year when I first separated, and then the opportunity came up for me to be a manager at a retail store, and I took it because I thought it's more consistent and whatever, the paycheck. And then there came in a new general manager who was just vicious and cruel, and he would cuss me out. He would pull me in the back, and then he would go back and forth with the tasks I was supposed to be, doling out to everybody else. And it was just like these mind games. And my relationship was abusive, and I just couldn't take it. I was like, I don't need this. I'm not going to stay here. I can't handle this. And I'm putting my foot down. And I've had to eliminate a lot. And I eliminated that job. and I've eliminated toxic people from my life because, like you said, it's not worth it.
No.
It's not at all. So, and I'm a lot happier now working for myself, and so.
If and use that as an excuse. If you're going through a divorce or separation and it's giving you some kind of superpower to like not take bullshit, use it. Because that's what it sounds like. I'm like, wow, I have a superpower. Like, no more bullshit superpower.
That was so awesome.
I love that. That's
okay,
great.
Can you repeat that? Please repeat.
Use the bullshit superpower. I mean, seriously, it sounds like you're feeling that strengthened, and it's like, I got this superpower, and I'm just going to use it wherever it needs to be fit. I think that's awesome. Use it.
That was awesome.
That's great advice.
Wait, how did you said it so perfectly? Superpowers to what?
I don't even know. I think I said if you get some kind of superpower from, going through a separation or a divorce, that's going to help you eliminate bullshit. Use it everywhere you can.
That is the best thing.
I have to cut that out of the replay and like use it somewhere else.
Seriously.
Oh my gosh. I had kind of a similar experience to Jenna at the. I was a graphic designer at a print company, and one day one of the guys in the back. He's a joker, but his humor is different than a lot of people's. But I was okay with him for the most part. But one day, I brought my lunch to work, and I had my little lunch bag, and he said, "Oh, Sarah, go into the refrigerator, get her lunch bag," or whatever it was he said. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Don't you ever shut up?" Like, I was just kidding with him, and I thought he knew that. And then when I came back, he goes, he said, "Sarah, why are you so mean?" And I'm like, "I'm not mean. I was just kidding." And he goes, "No wonder your husband cheated on you."
Wow.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
I cannot believe you just said that.
Wow.
So
that's crazy. Yeah. And that's the type of thing I will never understand people that bring that level of anger to work, because you have to understand, you went through something and are going through it, and you're able to come to work and joke around and, shoot the shit, as they say. And then you have someone that'll come and say something like that. But you have to know, when you have those kind of people, they're probably dealing with something way worse than what you have going on. 9 times out of 10, because that type of anger that comes out, unnecessarily, when we all know we're joking and, playing around, there's feelings hurt under there. And I will tell you, in the workplace, and I'm a big person on this, it is not your job to help everybody through their issue. If you have a friend in the workplace, that's one thing. If we were all friends and you ladies were like, "Oh, this is what's going on with me," as a friend, I'm going to listen to you, but I have to know that that's the relationship that we have. But for people who you don't have that relationship with, it is okay to be professional and, just kind of put them in their place right there and say, "Look, that was really unnecessary and I don't appreciate it." And then that's it. Instead of, I don't know. I don't know if I would have been that professional. I'm not going to lie. I know it's going to be savvy. I know, guys. But I'm so nice. But I want to handle that.
Oh, sorry. What'd you say?
I like the way that you handled it, though. You were able to just kind of look at him like, "Wow, you're weird."
Okay, so I have one last question for you. Mm-hmm. You were talking about how a common theme that comes up in when people don't like their job is other people's habits. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're in a job, obviously there are other people. You can't change everybody. So if somebody comes to you and you determine that they don't like their job because of the other people involved, what do you do about that? What do you coach them on? Well,
I think at those times you have to definitely, with that person, I would see what it is that they have problems with. And then you try to see if there's any common things. So we'll talk about work, but we'll also talk about like how are the relationships with your friends or your family or your last job or the job before that. And if we can't catch any themes, then maybe it truly is the people that you work with. It depends. If you're at a place in your life where you don't care and you love what you do, then you go to work and you're professional and you don't give up and you do your job, and you'll find that other opportunity will come if you're looking for it. You just have to be very mindful of that. You have to use your network. You have to tell people, hey, I'm just to let you know, I'm looking to move into management or in the same career field or whatever. I'm looking to maybe move, soon and maybe a couple miles down the road, and I want to get something closer to work. Start to pull your network and see if you can leave there. Because if it's toxic and there's nothing you can do about it, because you are not the person that's going to be able to fix it. You are not going to be able to go into work and, put your Dr. Phil hat on and say, okay, everybody, look, we all have problems and I just want us to be friends. As much as I would love for it to be situations where the whole staff can get together and completely change. It doesn't happen like that. Even if you're doing team development, staff development, those changes have to come over time, and it has to be a team effort. And so sometimes you do just have a toxic team, but I will tell you that's not the place that you need to be. And it's just not. If you cannot do your job and it's a people thing, and you've done the work with yourself and it's not me. It really isn't. These people that I work with, they're rude, they're spiteful, they don't want me to succeed. Then you have to leave. And I would say, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like you have to stay. I think that's the story that we tell ourselves. I remember, and this wasn't a people thing, but I had this job and I just didn't really like how some of the dynamics were with like the motivation on the team. But, I was really good at my part of what I did. And I was telling one of my friends, I said, I just kind of feel like if I can make it here, then, it'll be a breeze anywhere else. If I could just conquer what I'm doing right now in this job, then it'll be a breeze. And it was kind of like if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere type thought process. And she said something to me that stuck with me. And she said, Tanida, no, like maybe that's just not where you need to be. Like you don't need to rationalize staying in a place that doesn't work for your soul. If it doesn't work for your soul, it doesn't work. And you need to leave. And you really do. I don't believe that, and you two ladies are perfect examples that you don't have to stay anywhere. You both started businesses and created your own path. And sometimes, entrepreneurship is the way, or sometimes it's just a different company. But I don't suggest staying in a place that doesn't grow you.
I thought you were referring to the fact that we left our husbands.
That too. That too. I mean, the thing is, you said it earlier, Sarah. It is the same. It's a relationship that you have with your job. You spend 40 hours a week there. That is a full-fledged relationship. So you're right. I mean, if you're cutting loose ends in your relationships, and you go to work and you feel that same feeling, like you go to work and the same way your ex made you feel at work, it is time to go. It's time to go.
That's really wait, I was going to say something, but I lost my train of thought. Oh, it was really good too. It was life altering.
Oh, man, you'll think of it.
What was it? I remember. Okay. So, I'm probably going to get us off topic, but that's what I do best. I was reading an article about kind of the history of love, and kind of in ancient times when there were, warring families and ladies and kings and queens lived in castles and everything. Marriage was more about practical things like power, combining two families and you get more power, or combining two families and you get more wealth. It was all about practical things. And then as time went on, marriage and relationships and love kind of changed to completely heart related, completely related to the feeling that you get when you're around that person. And all practicality was, thrown out the window. And the article, was talking about the fact that both of those extremes aren't very good. You need a relationship, like the strongest relationships are going to be ones that the practicality is there. So something that's very important to women who are going through divorce and have kids. If you meet someone new down the road, does this person react well with my kids? Does this person agree with me on discipline and different things like that? Are we going to have a stress in that situation? So that's the practical side. And then the emotional side or the feeling side is, do I get butterflies in my stomach when I'm around that person? Do I want to spend time with this person? Am I happy when this person comes home? All of those normal romantic feelings. And I kind of had this epiphany that, when you're dating someone, or when you're looking to spend your life with someone, your heart and your head need to agree. It can't just be, you can't be forcing yourself to be with someone who society deems is okay, or who your family deems is okay. Well, this person has a lot of money. They can provide for me. I should be with them. I need to be with them, or whatever it is. But you shouldn't also be with someone who gives you those fuzzy feelings, but then, isn't really good with your kids or isn't a practical match for you. And, the same goes for your job. When you need to look at your job or your career or your business, if you own your own business, and, ask yourself, is this a practical and a romantic match, a passionate match? And I think, I don't know, at least for me, that's helped. And I think that would help other people too.
You need to know that there are going to be those times where you're not going to love your job. It's going to happen. And it's just like somebody that you're with. You're like, there's days where like, you love that person, and then like 4 days later, you're like, I really don't like you. Like, I don't like you. Let's be honest, ladies. It's true. But but I don't like you today, and so that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen in your job. That's gonna happen.
One of my friends posted this quote, something like, "Remember, you're having a bad day, not a bad life." So if you apply that to a relationship, remember, today you don't like this person. It doesn't mean you have a bad marriage.
Right.
Or your job, today is a bad day. It doesn't mean you hate your job. So,
yeah. If you're in there for the long haul, then it's all worth it. And you just have to keep that mindset and keep a positive attitude about it. And I would say that when you were talking about, the people that you work with and the habits that, you don't like, or, whatever various problems you may run into with people at work, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, maybe you're being triggered by something. It could be from a relationship, it could be from a past job, and I would advice that I would give somebody is, when you wake up, or before you go into work, whenever that is, try to just keep a positive mindset, and just try to go in with, before you even walk in, say, I'm not going to let people upset me today. I'm not going to let these little things bother me. I'm going to just, keep my head straight, and I'm going to keep, doing what I need to do, and I'm not going to worry about it. And that helped me a lot with a lot of people that I didn't like at my last job, and that bothered me. I just tried to keep a positive attitude, and even if they were upset or rude or mean, I just didn't let it affect me, so I would just try to give that advice. And, and like you said, if it's something that, you're just really unhappy, then that would be glaringly obvious. If, you're the one with the positive, mindset, but then it just keeps going on. And, it's like you said, the soul and your heart, if it's not in it, and if it's, struggling and hurting, I really like those words you were using, because that's so, you just don't hear that very often, and it's very good. I really like the advice you've given. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You need to have those words, though, all those that's how you need to feel about your job. You know, you need to feel that, hey, this is not just about the money. You know, most people, when they quit a job, or if they're just fed up, you know, they leave a lot of money on the table. There are people that quit, you know, jobs where they're making multiple six figures, and they do that because they just cannot go every day. They hate it so much, or something's changed for them in their heart about it. So, you know, and especially now, you know, if you're millennial age, we're just not into the whole, you know, pay me a paycheck and I'll just accept anything you give me. And so, you know, those things really matter. And, you know, if you're an employer, if you have people that you work with and you're employing people, you have to think about that too. You need to think about what are the things that they need that's going to give them the balance in their life. And trust me, it is not just a paycheck. It really is not.
Very true.
We had a blab a few weeks ago talking about the signs of abuse, and some aren't very obvious. So, what are some signs that people could possibly relate to who are trying to maybe trick themselves into thinking that they need to stay with their job? What are some signs that your job is really like a negative thing in your life?
Well, we hit on this a couple of times. One of those signs is that you dread getting out of the bed. Like, you are last minute. I want to do anything but leave this house. Oh, I got to make a stop at this place. Oh, I got to go at this place. You just don't even want to go. Another thing is you find yourself, it's time, you know, if you find yourself at a point where every single thing that someone does, you feel like is an attack on you, that's a sign that it's time to go. Like, or everything that someone does, you're like over processing it. Like, you know, you walk in the door and, you know, Suzanne is sitting there and you walk by and you're like, oh my, she rolled her eyes at me. She rolls her eyes at me every day and she hates me, and I don't know why she hates me. I didn't do anything to her. I mean, now you're having a whole conversation about Suzanne and why she's rolling her eyes. Meanwhile, Suzanne's kid, you know, forgot their backpack at their house, and that's why she's rolling her eyes. She's annoyed. So when you start to just overthink about every move that everyone in your circle at work is making, that's definitely a sign that, you know, it's time to go, or maybe there's some issues there in the workplace. Just overcompensating. You know, one of the biggest things that people do at work that I will never understand is when they take time off. Okay, number one, the one big thing is you have these vacation days that they're sitting there. You got like 4 weeks of vacation that you never use, and you're proud of it. That's not good. Like, why would you want to have work and they're giving you time off because of the work you put in and you don't want to take it? If you feel like, well, people are going to judge me if I take it, or if I just take a day off and I don't explain to every person in my office why I'm taking off, you know, that to me is a sign that, hey, that's not a really good culture. It's not a place you want to work when you feel like I can't just take a day off. So for me, you know, I take a day off and I say, hey, I'm off. That's it. I'm not, hey, I'm off. I'm going here, here, and here. Call me on my cell if you need me. None of that, because that's not a day off. You know, just feeling like you can't be who you are in the workplace. That's a sign, you know, because if you can't be who you are, that means that for all the time that you're supposed to be there, you're not the version of yourself that's the best. Mm-hmm. You're not. You're another person. And it's funny. The funny thing about that is that person doesn't go away when you get home. It takes time for you to get back to who you really are. And who suffers? The people that see you from that 5 to 6:30 moment where you're transitioning back to who you really are, and you're snapping at people, or you're angry, or you don't want to be bothered, or you just slouch on the couch and you don't want anybody to say anything to you. You know, it's not their fault. And those are just some small things. I mean, we could go on and on, but the biggest thing is, you know, feeling underappreciated and overworked. Not, people calling you because they know Sarah will do it. Just those are the type of things that you need to watch out for.
Well, that's a really good list. That's a really, really good list. Well, we are at the end of our time. Tanida, thank you so much for coming on here. This was an excellent, I think, one of our best shows.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
This is really cool.
I'm just so surprised that we were able to find so many similarities between relationships and going through divorce and separation and jobs. Like that really surprised me.
Yeah,
me
too.
I didn't mean that. So, okay. So, thank you again. Thank you so much. And if you, Tanida, how can people get a hold of you, or how can people find you?
If you want to look for me, you can find me at The Savvy YP, and that's on Facebook and Twitter. If you're a podcast listener, I'm on iTunes at The Savvy Young Professional Podcast. You can go to thesavvyyoungprofessional.com or thesavvyYP.com. Pretty much The Savvy YP, to keep it short. You can just find me anywhere, my website, my podcast, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those lovely little things. I like to hang out on Twitter. I love Periscope. I really do. And I think I'm going to start. I like Blab. I love this format. I think it'd be really good for what we're doing. So if you're looking for me, just find me there. I'd love to connect with you if you have any questions. And you just kind of want to maybe do a career audit. I'd love to go back and forth with you. You can find me on thesavvyYP.com. Shoot me an email, and I'd love to even go through that process with you if you'd like. But I really appreciate you inviting me to my first Blab. This is really cool.
Oh, I didn't know
this is my first. I went on to check it out, but I've never been a participant. So this is really cool.
Okay. Well, we can talk a little after we sign off. So again, I'm Sarah.
I'm Jenna. Sorry.
You're with Heartly Broken, and you can find out more about us on heartlybrokenradio.com. Jenna, can you type that in real quick?
Sure.
heartlybrokenradio.com. And you can find out more about us. We're going to be doing another show next. Oh, wait, is it the end of the month? If it's the end of the month, then we're going to be switching to Sunday. I think we're going to be switching. We're going to be switching to Sundays at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. So next Sunday will be like kind of a recap of the month, and it'll just be kind of me and Jenna talking. And if anybody wants to come in and chat with us, we'll chat about divorce, separation, marriage, love, anything else, support getting through separation and divorce. So join us there. If you like what you've heard, please tweet it out and follow us on Blab. And thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for catching the replay. We will talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.